Detroit, we have got some major Lions news to break down today, and I am telling you right now, this is one of those days where everything just feels right in the Motor City. The Lions just got some genuinely great news about keeping a key front office piece away from a division rival. There is a fresh new face in the receiver room that might be more important than people are giving him credit for. Our general manager, Brad Holmes, just got some well-deserved national recognition. And Sean McVay, yes, that Sean McVay just went on a major podcast and straight up admitted that he was an amateur, that he lacked courage, and that Jared Goff deserved better from him. Oh, and Taylor Decker? There's a new development on where this Lions legend might end up. We have got a full plate today on Lions Focus. Let's get into it. Let's start with the news that had Lions fans letting out the biggest sigh of relief this week. Ray Agnew is staying in Detroit. That's right. The Minnesota Vikings came sniffing around the Lions front office, looking to poach the man who has been Brad Holmes' right hand since day one of this rebuild. The Vikings, fresh off firing general manager Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah in January, cast a very wide net in their GM search, requesting interviews with 9 assistant general managers from other teams, and Lions assistant GM Ray Agnew was right there on that list. His name came up, the calls were made, Lions Nation collectively held its breath, and then the news dropped that Agnew was not among the 5 finalists. Not going anywhere. Staying put in Allen Park. Yahoo. And honestly, that word about says it all right there. Here is what people need to understand about why this matters so deeply. Ray Agnew is not some middle-of-the-roster personnel guy you can replace with a phone call. This is a man who spent 18 seasons in the Los Angeles Rams front office in various capacities, the same Rams organization that built a sustained dynasty and won a Super Bowl. He followed Brad Holmes to Detroit in 2021 when the entire mission was to turn one of the most embarrassing franchises in professional sports into something legitimate. And over these past 5 seasons, that is exactly what has happened. Since Agnew and Holmes arrived together, this Lions team has averaged more than 11 wins per season. 11 wins. That kind of sustained success does not happen by accident, and it does not happen without the right people in the building at every level of the operation. Dan Campbell himself has said that Agnew is very low-key and very even-keeled, and that when he speaks in the meeting room, everyone takes notice. That is the kind of presence you cannot manufacture and cannot replace overnight. He is the steady hand that complements Holmes' vision. He is the guy who goes deep into the film, does not reveal his opinion until he has done the thorough work, and when he speaks, the room listens. That is worth its weight in gold for a franchise trying to take the next step. And look, sure, it is a little bittersweet on a personal level. Agnew clearly has the resume and the respect around the league to be a general manager. The Vikings saw something in him. Other teams are going to keep seeing something in him. But right now, for the Lions, having continuity at the top of that front office for the first time in 4 years is everything. You know how many organizations would kill for what Detroit has built? The Cleveland Browns, the New York Jets, the bottom half of the NFL. Teams that cycle through front office people like seasonal wardrobes. The Lions found the right people, they built something together, and they are keeping that core intact, heading into what could be the most important season in franchise history. Ray Agnew is staying home. And Lions Nation should sleep a little easier tonight because of it. Now let's talk about the newest name on the Lions wide receiver depth chart, and I want you to listen to this with an open mind before you make any quick judgments. The Detroit Lions signed veteran wide receiver Cedric Wilson Jr. this week, and the reaction online was sort of a collective shrug from a lot of people. 30 years old. 6th round pick. Career backup. The cynics have already written him off before he's even been measured for his pads. But here is what the cynics are missing. Cedric Wilson Jr. is 6'2" and 197 pounds. He has been in the NFL for 8 seasons across stops with the Dallas Cowboys, the Miami Dolphins, and the New Orleans Saints. He is a professional. And his best football, 45 catches for 602 yards and 6 touchdowns in a single season with the Cowboys, shows you what the ceiling looks like when this man has been in the right environment and gotten his opportunities. That was not the performance of a player who doesn't belong in this league. That was the performance of a receiver who can absolutely make plays when given the chance. Now, is Cedric Wilson Jr. going to walk into Detroit and be the number 3 receiver? No. That race is already won by Isaac Tesla, who is locked in behind Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jameson Williams. But what Wilson represents is exactly the kind of depth competition that good organizations run every single training camp. He is going to line up every day against Greg Dortch, Kendrick Law, Tom Kennedy, Dominic Lovett, Jackson Meeks, and Malik Cunningham, and every single one of them is going to have to earn their spot. That is not a problem. That is a feature. What makes this signing smart and quietly important is the versatility Wilson brings. He can line up outside and in the slot. He understands route running at a veteran level. He has the size teams covet for jump ball situations and contested catches. Pro Football Focus shows he has hauled in 16 contested catches on 39 opportunities in his career, a number that tells you this is a receiver who is not afraid of contact and does not shy away from the tough spots on the field. And the Lions love players who can move around the formation and create matchup problems. Could he get cut? Absolutely. This might be a camp body situation. But you know what Brad Holmes has proven time and again? That he turns over every single rock. He finds players other people miss. Some of the most important pieces on this roster came from exactly this type of low-risk, high-competition signing. You never know which rock has gold underneath it until you flip it over. Wilson has a legitimate shot to be that veteran piece that quietly earns a roster spot and becomes a factor in the passing game as the season unfolds. Competition breeds excellence in Allen Park. The more, the merrier. And if Wilson pushes the guys ahead of him to be better every single day, then the Lions win regardless of who makes the final 53. Now let's hand out some flowers to a man who absolutely deserves them. NBC sports analyst Patrick Doherty came out this week with his ranking of the best general managers in the entire NFL, and Brad Holmes came in at number 7 out of 32 teams. Number 7 in the whole league. And yes, Lions fans, I know your first instinct is to say he deserves higher, and honestly, I hear you, but let's take a step back and appreciate what that number actually means coming from a national analyst who has no rooting interest in Detroit. This is a man who walked into the worst organizational situation imaginable. The Lions had burned through regime after regime. The roster was hollowed out. The culture was broken. The credibility was gone. And Holmes came in, stabilized everything, and systematically rebuilt this franchise into a legitimate Super Bowl contender in one of the most impressive front office turnarounds the NFL has seen in years. The fact that someone looking at all 32 teams from a neutral perspective puts him in the top 10 is not an insult. It is a genuine achievement. Now, is Holmes perfect? No. The critiques about being conservative in free agency are fair. There have been moments where Lions fans wanted him to be more aggressive, to make the big swing, to go out and land the star free agent. That is a valid conversation to have. But when you look at the totality of what this man has built, through the draft, through smart contract management, through building a culture that attracts players who want to be here, the 7th best general manager ranking in the NFL is something to be proud of, not upset about. He is the reason this team is a contender. He is the reason there is legitimate excitement around Lions football for the first time in decades. 7 out of 32 is something a lot of fan bases would trade everything for. Detroit's got it. Let's recognize it. Now buckle up, because this next story is one that every single Lions fan has waited years to hear. Sean McVay, Super Bowl winning head coach of the Los Angeles Rams, one of the most celebrated coaches in modern NFL history, sat down on the Bussin' with the Boys podcast this week and laid bare one of the biggest regrets of his professional life. And that regret? The way he handled trading Jared Goff to the Detroit Lions. McVay did not sugarcoat a single word. He called himself an amateur. He talked openly about a lack of courage, a lack of clarity, and a lack of the ability to look somebody in the eye who had been through so many incredible experiences with him and just be honest with him. He admitted he should have told Goff directly, hey, this is not easy to say, but we might explore an opportunity to acquire Matthew Stafford, and you could be part of that trade. He said the handling of it was the exact opposite of how he would hope to handle things going forward. He did not run from it. He owned every bit of it. And look, credit where it is due. It takes real maturity to go on a public platform with millions of listeners and say, I was wrong, I was immature, I could have done better by this person. McVay is not old. He was a young coach navigating one of the most difficult conversations any coach can have with a quarterback he built his early success around. People make mistakes when they are young and in positions they are still learning to handle. That is just the truth of human nature, and the fact that he has grown enough to acknowledge it, to say it publicly without any wiggle room or hedging, that deserves some respect. But here is the part that makes this story so satisfying for Lions fans everywhere. Jared Goff was caught completely off guard by that trade. He was blindsided. And in the 5 years since, he has not only survived, he has absolutely thrived. He signed a 4-year, $212 million extension with Detroit. He took the Lions to their first NFC Championship game appearance since 1991. He has become the face of a franchise that people genuinely love to root for now. The 3 first-round draft picks the Lions received in that trade became Jammer Gibbs, Sam Laporta, and Jameson Williams. 3 foundational players. 3 major pieces of the engine that drove Detroit back to relevance. McVay sent a player away without the basic courtesy of a heads-up conversation, and that player went out and built something that is now breathing down the Rams' necks as a competing Super Bowl contender. If that is not the ultimate revenge arc in modern professional football, I do not know what is. Jared Goff did not just land on his feet. He landed on a rocket ship. And now Sean McVay has to look across the NFC and know that the man he traded away, the man he was too afraid to have an honest conversation with, is coming for everything. That apology is accepted. But the Lions are not slowing down because of it. And finally, let's close out with a quick update on former Lions left tackle Taylor Decker, a man who gave 10 years of his professional life to this franchise and deserves nothing but respect as he navigates his next chapter. The news this week is that the Cleveland Browns are being strongly urged to make a run at Decker to anchor their completely rebuilt offensive line. Cleveland has gone through a massive overhaul of their line this offseason. They drafted Spencer Fano, they traded for Titus Howard, they signed Elgton Jenkins and Zion Johnson. But the left tackle spot remains a question mark, and Decker, a Pro Bowl veteran with 140 career starts, is still sitting out there on the open market. Decker requested his release from Detroit this past March after 10 seasons together. The Lions and Decker could not agree on an extension. He felt he was underpaid. He wanted to bet on himself on the open market. And honestly, for a player who has given what he gave to this organization over a decade, you have to respect that decision. You might not always win when you bet on yourself in the NFL, but the principle of believing in your own value and going to find it, there is nothing wrong with that. If Decker ends up in Cleveland, then he is going to go play on a team that genuinely needs him and can offer him a legitimate starting role. That is not the worst outcome. He is not the same dominant force he was at his peak, but Pro Football Focus graded him 41st among all tackles in the league last season, which is still a starting caliber number. He can give the Browns a reliable blindside presence while they develop whoever they draft as the long-term answer. And he has got familiarity with Ohio from his college days at Ohio State, so the geography is not exactly a hardship. For the Lions, the page has already been turned. Penei Sewell slides over to left tackle. Blake Miller steps in on the right side. The offensive line project continues, with or without Decker's name at the top. No animosity, no hard feelings, nothing but good memories of a player who showed up, stayed healthy, competed, and helped lay the foundation for what the Lions are building today. Wherever Taylor Decker lands, he earned the right to find the best situation for himself. We wish him well, unless he suits up against Detroit in 2026. Then, all bets are off. Let me tell you something, Lions fans. Days like this are what make following this team so special right now. Think about where this franchise was just 5 years ago. There was nothing to talk about. No continuity, no stability, no direction. And now, we are talking about retaining a key front office executive because division rivals are trying to steal him. We are talking about a receiver room so loaded with competition that a veteran with a solid career Ursum is going to have to fight for a roster spot. We are talking about a national analyst putting Brad Holmes in the top 10 general managers in the whole NFL. We are talking about the man who traded away our quarterback, having to go on a national podcast and apologize for how he handled it. Because that quarterback went on to prove every doubt wrong and build something that is now threatening the entire NFC. The Lions are not a team on the rise anymore. The Lions are already risen. The question now is how high they can go. And everything happening this offseason, the draft picks, the free agent signings, the front office stability, the defensive line overhaul, is pointing toward a team that is not satisfied with NFC Championship appearances. This roster is being built for the ultimate prize. Detroit has been waiting for a very long time, and that wait is getting shorter every single day. This is Lions Focus, and we are locked in right alongside you for every single step of this journey. If you have not already hit that subscribe button, do it right now. This is your home for daily Detroit Lions coverage, and we are not letting up for a single moment. Smash that like button, drop your thoughts in the comments below, and tell a friend to tell a friend that Lions Focus is where the real ones come for their Lions news. We will see you next time.